What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Vancouver Canadians series in OOTP 16. I'm not exactly sure what episode this is. I just know we are in 2018, near the mid-season point, and I know I have not posted this in a while, but when my computer crashed, I did not download this right away, and then I got sidetracked doing other stuff, but I had it in the back of my head as something that I wanted to do, and I always said this was kind of going to be a irregular series anyway. So I have a couple things to note. First, I have made a ton of moves off camera. I lost the footage I started working on this episode before my computer crashed. The first time, because it's crashed twice since the last episode of this I posted. So I've done a ton of stuff, and I'm going to kind of get you guys up to speed. And I'll give the motivation as to why I made those moves as they come up during the video. Another thing is, I'm sorry about the black bars on the border of every video up to this point. I did not realize it was doing it until I went back to watch the video afterwards recently to get an idea of where I was in the series the last time I posted it. I had no idea that the video was rendering like that. I actually have no clue why they rendered like that. It's very strange. I don't know why. Like, no other video I've ever done is rendered in that fashion. I don't know why it added all those black bars, but I'll have to check my preview settings next time before I do it, before I post the video. So I'm going to show you guys the standings first, and we've lost the last 4 games, so this was a little bit better. I also think I fixed the dimensions. Before, a little bit of the bottom would be cut off a couple times. I said we'd be the worst team in the league, and you wouldn't even see where we were on the screen because we'd be like down here. This part right here used to be cut off. I fixed the dimensions on the capture a little bit on OBS, so hopefully it's a little bit better now. But yeah, we'll look at the standings. We are 3rd in the American League West. It's a pretty close wild card race. Prior to the moves that I made, because I don't think I've simulated at all since making the trades that I made. We were pretty firmly in that top spot, and I still think we can. It's fair to say that we can catch the Rangers. We're only 10 games back, and it's maybe halfway through the season. The Rangers are a very good team, though. There are 7 teams within 5 games of the wild card, and Houston's pretty good always too. There's really like 10 wild card teams that could conceivably work their way into a wild card spot between now and the end of the season. So, and even like down here, like the odds of these teams making the playoffs aren't very high, but the wild card's not going to be that great this year, so really they wouldn't have to be too great to catch where the teams are now. So, yeah. And I'm sorry if there's any background noise. I have not tested my mic or anything. I haven't like test recorded, and I've changed my mic setup a little bit since then. And I noticed a little fuzziness in a couple videos recently. But so let's go to we went through the standings, and then I decided at that point that we needed some more pitching. Our lineup. I'll show the lineups first because I haven't really made many changes. Well, actually, first I'm going to show the disabled list because the reason that the lineup is this way is because of injury primarily, and you get a little bit of spoiler as to who we traded for on this screen right here anyway. So Preston Tucker, we sent down to the minor leagues for a good portion of the season. He just came back like 2 weeks ago, and he was going off like a nuclear bomb. As you can see right here, his last 5 games, his OPS was raised 130 points in just those 5 games, and he'd been up for a little bit before that. He was like, his OPS was like 4 something earlier in the season. It was very, very low. He was struggling, so we sent him down, and we had a replacement for him. In Zach Cohn, he was playing a good portion of the season, I believe anyway, the way I had the rotations set up. So we made a trade for Malik Smith to be our center fielder. I don't exactly remember what this trade was. We traded Drew Hutchison, and that's going to get more into the pitching, which was terrible. Pretty much every pitcher that I signed this offseason turned out horrible. Drew Hutchison wasn't the worst, I guess. He did have a pretty good K to walk ratio. He's 7.9 Ks per 9. But he had a terrible ERA. He walked 16. His whip was 143. And I actually thought he could be a pretty good turnaround candidate because he had a pretty good 2016. And his 2017 wasn't the worst in the world either. But we traded him to the Braves for Malik Smith. They were willing to give us Malik Smith. So I took that. He didn't do the greatest for us in like 6 games. He was okay. I was really more on board for just the fact that he was a better bat than Joey Ricard, and he played a pretty solid center field. So I was kind of excited from that standpoint to get somebody like that. But he fractured his ankle almost immediately. So let's look at... I got to keep going back, actually. Jake Barrett got injured before the season started. Preston Tucker's out. So we'll look at the lineups. And right now, we just traded for Steven Moya. We traded Hanser Alberto. Not the greatest 2017 with Baltimore, but he had a pretty solid 2016 with Detroit in 382 plate appearances, a 776 OPS. That's pretty average. And he's filling in for that right field spot that I don't know why my mouse looks like this. Filling in that right field spot that we have a few injured guys at, and we don't know I don't really know what the plan is whenever Preston Tucker comes back, because I don't think he's injured for very long. But he had an 830 OPS in the minors this year, and I know that really doesn't mean anything, but he was a 1.5 win player 2 years ago while having average offensive statistics. He plays really good outfield too. Got some pop. I'm hoping more for slugging more than anything else out of him. And I actually meant to balance the lineup now that I traded for him. So we're going to move Jonathan VR up because he's having a really good year. Wilmer Flores. And then I was going to swap out these two. I think that was my plan. It might not have been my plan, actually. It might have... okay, this is what I wanted to do. I think. I'm not sure now. No, I wanted to put Candelario there. And then I'll put the... Yeah, alright. That was what I wanted to do with my lineup. So... we'll go by OPS. Again, that's OPS plus. Whoops. And we'll look. Ricardo Cantu's working out. He was a great signing. 387 OBP, 543 slugging. He has 16 home runs so far this season, and he also has 21 doubles. But he's mostly a singles hitter. But he has been hitting a lot of those. 312 average. Scott Van Slyke's really bounced back from the rough year that he had last year. I actually think he's played in every game we played so far, too. Moving to first base has really helped him in that regard. Yeah, he had a 777 OPS last year, so he's kind of been improving every year that we've had him. And hopefully we can trade him for something this offseason that will be useful, unless we decide to keep him. I'm not sure. I don't know what an extension would look like with him. I'm pretty sure I'll probably only want like 1 year. Yeah, he only wants 1 year. And it's really not that much more than it is this year, but it will be the last year of team control over Scott Van Slyke. So we'll look into that. Maybe I'll give him a 2-year, 3-year deal. Although we saw that worked out last time with Hyun-Soo Kim, who was almost immediately traded. Ryan Schimpf's had kind of a breakout year. I hesitate to call it a breakout year because him and Van Slyke both have had ridiculous BABIPs, and I don't know if this is sustainable. I think Jonathan VR is kind of had an unsustainable BABIP too, but he's had a very strange year in comparison to last year. We essentially have 5 guys with 800 OPS and then another guy who has a 783. And then Chase Vallot has really come on now that we've given him a little bit more regular playing time. We're going to get to that in a minute, though. Ryan Schimpf has had kind of a breakout year after his mini breakout year last year, where he had a 215 average but a 454 slugging percentage and led our team and was among the league leaders in home runs. Really kind of developed into a more usable guy now. In real life, he has a higher OBP, like he's better at getting on base, but that's not the biggest concern. He's slugging 535 for us this year. He's been a almost 2-win player through 80 games, so I'm pretty happy with that, especially since his defense is kind of mediocre. He has a good arm in the outfield, but he's not the greatest defender. He would really be our DH if Wilmer Flores wasn't a really good hitter and we had another, like, a big batch of infielders. So I like Ryan Schimpf. He's had a pretty good year. Yamir Candelario has come on a lot recently. He was kind of struggling. He was like a 750 OPS. He's definitely not going to have a 4-win season like he did last year. And he's probably not going to have the best splits. But he's hitting the ball harder. He has more extra base hits this year. He already has almost his home run output from last year. And he's very close to his RBI output, too. Through not half as many plate appearances, but roughly have 300 less, not quite 300 less plate appearances. So I'm hoping for a big year development wise out of him. He's been very good so far, and he hit 45 doubles last year. He hasn't really matched that level of double hitting, but I guess more of them have turned into home runs. So I guess that's always a good thing. And he might be just hitting that like kind of sophomore snag where you're not as good as you were before. But I'll take an 807 OPS at third base any day over what we really our other options would have been. VR's had a very strange year. Last year he had a pretty high slugging percentage of almost he was at 469 slugging. This year that's down, but he's got on base significantly more. He's up almost 60 points in OBP from the first year that we had him. He's not the greatest defensive shortstop in the world, and I've thought about moving him to the outfield. He's played a little bit of outfield in the last couple of years. I actually think he was playing outfield a little bit earlier this year too. But I'm definitely considering it with him. Wilmer Flores has had a little bit of a down year compared to last season. He's not hitting the ball as hard. He doesn't have as high of a slugging percentage. He's also not getting on base as much. He just hasn't been putting the ball into play as much as he was before. And I really think that's something we need to give time to, as we saw in real life. And obviously, they're two totally different players. Even though this version of Wilmer Flores is much better than the one in real life. Chris Bryant was kind of having a not so great season. It wasn't as good as his rookie year, and then he's just exploded in the last couple months. It's been amazing to watch what he's turned into. The ability was always there. It was just he wasn't, I guess, performing up to a certain standard because everyone expected him to have a super breakout year. But Chase Vallet struggled to start out the year, and really what's carrying him is the fact that he's slugging almost 500. He hasn't really gotten on base much. He's only walked 5 times in 92 plate appearances, which I guess isn't the worst total. And he hasn't hit a whole lot. 9 of his 20 hits have been for extra bases, so that's always something to watch out for. But overall, I think that was one of the better picks that we made, and it kind of makes up for accidentally letting Richard Urena walk. It doesn't, it probably never will, but at the same time, we'll check right now how he's doing with Pittsburgh. I don't think he's had the greatest major league career up to this point, so he might end up kind of being a bust. I'm not sure. He's having an okay year this year. He's playing really good defensively. Yeah, this was one of the dumber things that they've done during this franchise, was just not remembering to check the Rule 5 selections, and that was my mistake. But we did get Candelario out of that, and he's had arguably a better year, and we needed that position more than we needed a shortstop, really. Although I probably would have just traded Jonathan VR in that case. But, yeah. So, right now, this is what the lineup looks like. Oh, Joey Ricard's had another horrendous season. Who did I not cover? I don't think I really glossed over anybody else. BJ Moore has been BJ Moore. He's pretty much an average hitter who can play multiple positions. Zach Cohn had a good start, and he's really slowed down. Jonathan Villar's stolen 15 bases. All right, let's get into the pitching staff. So this is going to look totally different than it did to start the year. So let me walk you through everything that's happened up to this point. Jason Shreve is our closer. I don't know if I did that at the beginning of the year. I've done that recently. No. Hansel Robles was our closer, but as you can see right here, 473 FIP, 609 ERA. 423 BABIP. He had a really good year last year, but I think this might be it for him. He has not impressed this season at all. He's always consistently given up a high BABIP. He had a terrible whip last year and this year. I think this is probably it for him. This is probably going to be his last year. We're probably going to have to let go of him next year for money. Ishikawa has been pretty good this year. Not a high K per 9 rate, but 286 whip, 449 FIP is not the greatest, but he does get quite a bit of. He gets an okay amount of strikeouts. Enrique Burgos has really underperformed his FIP, but that's 356. He has a walk ratio that's a little high, but his K per 9 is pretty good. Seagrass is having another solid season. Barraclaw is a guy that we traded for earlier on in the year with Colorado. I believe we traded, we traded James Pazos, who was sitting in the minor leagues. We called him up, I think. No, we didn't call him up. He was sitting in the minor leagues, and I decided to see what I could get for him. And Bearclaw has been playing really well for us ever since he came up. He has a 104 whip and 14.3 Ks per 9. BABIP's a little high, and he has a few extra probably hits because of it, but his whip's pretty good still, and I like the rest of his peripheral stats. So, and we'll see right here, he's 301 FIP, so that's pretty solid. Shea Simmons, I believe we traded for prior to the year. Yeah, we did trade for last offseason. So he was there, and then these two guys are solid. So Ivan Vidal, we'll cover these in like order of importance. We signed as a free agent last offseason. He's been pretty solid this year, 3.96 ERA. But it's pretty much what you would expect out of a fifth starter. Not the greatest stats, but he's been all right. Jorge Lopez is a guy we just traded for, and before I get to the big three that is now compromising our pitching rotation, I have one more minor move to go over that we made. Jorge Lopez we traded just, I think, in this last 5-minute stretch. He's having a really good year with Montreal. I want to give him a spot in the rotation to see if he can really be good. We traded Jesse Chavez for him, who had a miserable season, which is not a surprise considering he's Jesse Chavez, who is coming off kind of a couple rough years in the real MLB. So we have John Moscott too. We traded, I believe, with the Montreal Expos as well. We sent him down to AAA though, because when we traded for him, he was having a really good year. Maybe not a really good year, but a solid year with Montreal. 119 whip, 40 strikeouts, and 40 innings. Only walked 12, 8.7 Ks per 9. And some of those stats stayed the same. He really started walking a lot more guys, and that was where he kind of started to fall off. He also allowed 7 home runs in 35 innings, which is probably also not a good sign. He wasn't having the worst year necessarily. I think his FIP was okay. It wasn't the worst in the world. But, yeah, no, he had a 5.13 FIP with us as opposed to a 3.63. So he's an option in the minor leagues in case either one of these guys gets injured or underperforms. I'm really not thinking that the top 3 guys are going to underperform, but there's always the potential for injury. So we'll go over this kind of in the order we acquired them. So we'll go over Trevor Bauer first. He has started 6 games this. We traded for him. He was in the bullpen in Cleveland having a really good year. So I decided to try him out as a starter because he had really good stamina, and the control's not necessarily there, but he has had an excellent 6-game stretch. As you can see, 43 strikeouts to 13 walks. Not the greatest ratio, sure, but he's at a 106 whip. And I don't know if that's the defense has played well for him or what, but he's already, in 6 starts, been worth almost 2 wins. So I think that was a pretty good trade for that perspective. I don't remember exactly what we traded for him either. I think it just might have been another pitcher. No, we traded Pedro Severino, who is a solid catching prospect, but is really more of a defensive guy than anything else, and we have plenty of those. So, those aren't hard to come by. I think we were just really kind of not raising. I don't know what the word would be. I think he was on our team at some point too, though. But yeah, we'll go back. I think last year. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't played this save in a while, but. So Trevor Bauer, we got that. Lucas Giolito, we just traded for. And the problem we're probably going to run into is we have too many right-handers. We don't have any lefties in the rotation. But I don't really know if that matters in this game at all. But so we just traded for Lucas Giolito. Kind of traded a bunch of garbage. He's had an excellent career. Career numbers are really good for him. His strikeouts per 9 are down a little bit this year, and he walks a few more people than I'd like. But he seems to manage pretty well. 1.33 whip last year, 1.24 this year. His FIP is not the greatest in the world, but I'll go over in a second what we traded for him. That's batting. I don't really think that we gave up a lot as opposed to what his actual value was. So if we look here, his FIP in the last 3 seasons has been pretty much 4. 4.28 this year. I think that's just because he's walking more people and striking out less. And for those of you that don't know, even though you should it if you watch the series because I talk about it all the time, FIP is pretty much based on home runs, strikeouts, and walks. It's only 3 things that a pitcher has direct control over, does not take into account hits, which would assume that a fielder had something to do with the play at some point. It does not take those into account at all. Pretty much favors pitchers who get a lot of strikeouts and don't walk a lot or don't allow many home runs. So Lucas Giolito, I'll show you what we traded for him. Not a super impressive haul. We traded Jeremy Martinez, who's been hitting terribly in the minors this past season. He's really another defensive guy, not great hitting stats. And the OSA really liked him a lot. I didn't think that those ratings were anything super special that we couldn't find anywhere else. And yeah, we don't have the greatest farm system, but I think we can do a little bit better than that. Like, that was just bad. Or not very good. So Ryan Says, who has a lot of trade value or had a lot of trade value, he's already 26 years old. We signed him as a minor league free agent. He's now playing, I don't know, Dominican Summer League, I guess. And he expects to play in the majors. He's had a terrible year in AAA, pretty much. So, and like, he has pretty much typical first base ratings. We have plenty of hitters like him. It doesn't really matter. So. Tony Zapata was a throw-in player. He's one of these fake players that I auto-generated to fill out minor league systems after I did the expansion draft. And Witten Bernard, you guys have seen up in the majors the last couple years. Or I guess just last year. He was not very good. We really brought him up as a defensive replacement because I believe our right fielder got injured. And the number 39 prospect, Leonardo Molina. So the reason that we traded him was because he has okay hitting ratings and he's very fast and has good defense. But we have a glut of outfielders, not many infield prospects in the minor leagues. And Leonardo Molina hasn't really hit the greatest. And sure, his defense is valuable, but he can only play one position. He's a good runner, sure, but he's never going to be a very good hitter. He'll be an average or above average hitter, but he's never going to be great, and I imagine he'll be a guy around like a 770 OPS every year. So I don't really think that we lost much in that trade, and we definitely gained a lot. Lucas Giolito is a pretty good pitcher. He's not as good in this as he's going to be in real life, but you know, as a third, fourth starter, I imagine he'll be pretty good. And I don't know how the ballpark that we play in is going to affect him, but the last trade we made was for Taijuan Walker. Well, actually, this is like the second trade that I made total. But he's had a really good year with Seattle. He was already a 2-win pitcher when we traded for him. 4 great pitches. Well, 3 great pitches and a good pitch in his curveball. Good control, which was really something that I was looking for. Pretty good stamina. 2 days ago in his last start with Seattle, he threw 101 pitches. So I'm actually probably going to have to jumble the rotation a little bit before the next steps, or before I sim any further. But 9.2 Ks per 9, 2.4 walks per 9, and a ERA of 2.85 this year. He had a pretty good FIP too. When I checked, we'll get that right now, because he's only allowed, I don't remember actually how many home runs he's allowed. Oh, 1 per 9 innings. So every 9 innings he's giving up a home run. And his FIP's 374, so maybe not as good as the numbers like the surface numbers would indicate, but I thought for what we paid, it was a pretty fair price. We didn't give up a super lot, if I remember. I think we gave up like a bunch of kind of mediocre pieces. So we got Tommy Malone's contract off the book. That was a disastrous contract. We signed him for 2 years. I don't remember why. I thought that was a good idea. Jose Torres, who for all intents and purposes has been one of the most disappointing people in this entire series, because I thought he would actually be a pretty good player. Pretty solid number 4, number 5 type pitcher, and never panned out into anything. Jacob Bloss, a 3-star prospect who's kind of not really anything special. Clint Frazier, who's 3.5-star outfield prospect. He's probably the best out of all this crap, but and he had 2 wins in the minors this year, or he was worth 2 wins in the minors this year, but not the greatest potential. He's really more of a tools guy. He's very fast. Pretty decent defense, and the head scout likes him a little bit more in the OSA, but I never really thought he was going to have a spot on this team, and we really needed pitching more than offense at this point. We got 5 guys pretty much who can score a run at any time, and we in the AL, so 3 weak spots in your lineup's not going to kill you necessarily. And then the last piece we included was Zach Davies, who I actually thought was having a really good year, but then I looked at the underlying numbers. Sure, he's had a 125 whip, 8.2 strikeouts per 9, and he's already been worth a win this year, but take a look at his FIP. He is not having the greatest year in terms of that stat, as it's over 4. So 4.24, definitely his best year with us, but still not very good, I'd say. And definitely something would be worth getting rid of. And he's actually had his worst year in terms of ground balls, so that was another thing that I was kind of concerned about. So, and this year he was 3.52 ERA, 70 strikeouts. You know, solid numbers, not the greatest, and he's probably the biggest piece in this trade. So, I'm gonna make another video toward the end of this to see where we are in the playoff, toward the end of the season, excuse me, to show you guys kind of where we are in the playoff race. I'm going to see if I made any more trades that I didn't show. Where we are in the playoff race, no, it doesn't look like it. And if we're going to make the playoffs, what happens with the team down the line, and various things of that nature. So I tried to do this all in one take so I could just upload it. It did run a little bit longer than I expected, but, you know, we went over everything. Showed where the team was basically at. Hopefully we can make the playoffs. We're holding on to that second wild card spot. Maybe we can work our way up to first. I think we can still have a decent shot of winning the division too. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you whenever the next episode of this is. Hopefully soon. I want to do a couple more of these this month, but we'll see how everything goes. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.